War has never.
Hello and welcome. I'm Sima Katauka and you're watching the World Report on NewsX World. Let's take a look at the top headlines of this hour. US President Donald Trump has announced an immediate 25% tariff on countries doing business with Iran. This aims to pressure Tehran as protests intensify. At least 648 people killed in Iran protests as per a US rights group. This comes as security forces crack down on nationwide protests. US President Donald Trump will meet Venezuelan opposition leader and Nobel Peace Prize winner Maria Corina Machado at the White House on 15th of January. The talks follow US strikes on Caracas and the capture of Nicolas Maduro. French far-right leader Marine Le Pen has launched an appeal in Paris that will decide whether she can run in the 2027 presidential election after a court imposed an immediate 5-year ban from public office over the misuse of more than €4 million in EU funds. The hearing is due to end in February. Federal arson charges have been filed against a man accused of setting fire to the Temple of Beth Israel synagogue in Mississippi after the FBI said the suspect confessed to torching. The January 10th blaze caused heavy damage and forced the indefinite closure of the building that was home to Mississippi's first Jewish congregation. EU Ambassador to Jordan Pierre Christophe Chatzizavas with ambassadors of EU member states and Jordan's Minister of Transport Nidal Kataman discussed the ways to enhance cooperation between Jordan and the EU in the transport sector, while Jordan has highlighted the importance of the recent Jordan-EU summit. The UK Special Representative for Syria Ann Snow and her delegation met with Syria's Minister of Information Hamza al-Mustafa to discuss prospects for cooperation in the media sector, while both sides exchanged views on the impact of past years on Syrian society and the need to expand global cooperation. Pete Hegseth has announced the integration of Elon Musk's Grok AI into US military networks, aiming to boost innovation in defense. The collaboration underscores the importance of rapid technological advancement to maintain America's edge in modern warfare. Now, for this hour, we start with Iran. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has warned the United States to stop what he called deceitful actions and its reliance on traitorous hirelings. And US President Donald Trump has threatened to strike the Islamic Republic over its crackdown on protesters that activists said had killed at least 646 people. The US has also announced a 25% tariff on any country trading with Iran, ramping up pressure on Tehran's theocratic regime. Iran's top cyberspace authority has announced that access to the global internet will remain restricted in the country until officials are satisfied that full security has been restored amid countrywide protest. However, mobile phones in Iran can call abroad after a crackdown, although text messages and internet services are still down. Meanwhile, China says that it opposes any illicit unilateral sanctions and long-arm jurisdiction, after US President Donald Trump posted on social media that nations doing business with Iran will face a 25% tariff on US trade. Now, for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Aaron Lavarco. He's an Israeli journalist, joins us live from Netanya, Israel. Thank you very much, Mr. Lavarco, for joining us once again. Good to see you. Now, thank you. Looking at this, as Iranian protests intensify, do you think the foreign pressure, such as the pressure from US, is effective? How effective is if this 25% tariff does, go on and then it carries on to affect the trade with all the countries, of course, India will also be affected by that.
Mm-hmm. Well, we've seen in the past that when economic restrictions are implemented and are kept, it works. It actually worked for a long time until the Obama administration changed its policies. And then, of course, providing billions of dollars into the pockets of the Iranians. And we know what a lot of that money, where it went to. It went to building underground tunnels in Gaza, went to supplying weapons to Hezbollah and to Hamas and to the Houthis and to Islamic Jihad. So, and then when Donald Trump, when he was president in his first premiership, and he put economic sanctions on Iran, things changed dramatically. And by the way, that's not to mention the fact that it's come out in the public that the Ayatollah in Iran has in his bank account, his personal bank account, 200 to 300 billion dollars. This is while his people are either starving or thirsting, while the currency is terrible, the economic situation is terrible there. So
Mr. Lavarco, when you say this Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has that many billions in his private bank, can you cite where's your sources from?
These sources are coming from Fox News, CNN. These are coming from major news outlets. So this is not, if it's just one outlet, it's one thing. But when it's in numerous outlets, it's quite another. So yeah, we're seeing these. Listen, people will criticize Donald Trump if he just goes in and drops bombs, but he's not doing that. He is looking for diplomatic solutions. He's looking for economic solutions. So, I give him a lot of credit. He's a peacemaker. He is not a man of war. He wasn't a man of war when he was the president the first time. He doesn't want to be a man of war this time. And by the way, when he dropped the 2 bombs on Iran a number of months ago, I believe that was an act of peace. It wasn't an act of war. He is trying to stop this evil regime from doing evil. So I think I think it's a great move, and of course, China are not happy with it.
And Mr. Lavarco, Iran has said that this is not when they saw the protests increasing, right, and escalating the situation there, they have been kind of reasoned it or pushed the reason to foreign interference towards Israel in particular. Or what do you have to say about that?
Well, that's very concerning for Israel. We are on a heightened alert. We have our Iron Dome missiles, our laser beam missiles, which is a new missile that we've now perfected, and it's ready. It's in place. Our military, our snow conditioned units have been trained, and they are ready up in the north. So no, it's very, very unpleasant what's going on, what potentially could happen. And let's not forget that because of the 12-day war that Israel had with Iran, the Ayatollah said, we will retaliate. We will avenge what has happened. And so they believe that they have a score to settle. So we are taking their threats very, very seriously.
Thank you for highlighting that, Mr. Lavarco. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, staying on Middle East, U.S. fighter jets have ramped up activity at the Al Udeid Air Base in Qatar as tensions escalate over Iran's ongoing protests. Located just 200 to 300 kilometers from Iran's border, the base is a key hub for U.S. military operations in the region. This move comes as the U.S. closely monitors the deadly unrest in Iran, where protests have claimed nearly 648 lives and over 10,000 people have been arrested. The U.S. is weighing its next steps with concerns about the crisis continuing to grow. White House Press Secretary Karoline Leavitt has reiterated that diplomacy remains the U.S. priority, but military action has not been ruled out. She said President Trump has always favored diplomacy but would not hesitate to use force if needed. Meanwhile, the State Department has advised U.S. citizens to make exit plans and prepare for the worst. Now for this discussion, we welcome back Mr. Aaron Levarko. He's joining us from Netanya. Thank you very much, Mr. Levarko, for staying with us. Now, looking at this Al Udeid, I think I'm pronouncing it right, Al Udeid base in Qatar, how handy will that be for U.S. in case they were to use this base towards military action and pressuring Tehran?
Well, it's a really big question because, firstly, from a geographical perspective, it will be a huge help. The Americans, any of American allies, they're going to need, including Israel, they're going to need bases to fly if they're planning on doing an attack on the Iranians. So they're going to need that. And I think the Americans in the past have made deals with the Qataris. Not everyone supports it, but you can see some of the strategic reasoning behind it. They are going to need launching pads. So it is going to be strategic. But the Qataris, they're going to also have to be strategic as well, because the Iranians have said anyone who attacks us or anyone who joins in or allows their airspace or allows their airstrips to be used as launching pads, they will become legitimate targets. Now, I don't think the Iranians are going to attack the Qataris, but the Qataris, they're taking a calculated risk, allowing the Americans. But seriously, I think the Qataris as well. I think they're done. They're fed up with the Iranian regime. They see the handwriting is on the wall. The people of Iran are looking back over the last 46 or so years at what has been tried to be a radical Islamic caliphate. It hasn't succeeded. People don't want radical Islam in their nation. And I think, Qatar and others are seeing that this is what is going to happen. Now, I'm not saying Qatar are moderate Muslims. I think deep down they really do want to further Islam and the spread of Islam. But on this case, I think they're seeing the handwriting is on the wall, and they are obviously, by allowing the Americans their land, they are siding with the Americans.
Right. And how do you analyze, how effective will this pressure from all the countries abroad can be?
Well, that's what we're going to find out over the next coming days and weeks.
Right.
The uprising in Iran, hopefully they can do it with themselves, although most times when there is a revolution, it's usually needed someone from outside. So I think Donald Trump has made it very clear he's not going to sit back and watch the regime murder Iranians. He's given pretty much the Iranian people his word. He is a man of his word. I think he's going to back up his word, and I think it's going to be successful. The big question is what kind of collateral damage is going to happen to American interests abroad, maybe even inside of America. Maybe the Iranians have their own terror cells set up there, ready to launch things like that. And we here in Israel, we're waiting to know what kind of response the Iranians, maybe they're going to attack us as well. We don't know, but it's all going to work out, I believe, over the next coming days and weeks.
Yes, right. Thank you very much, Mr. Lavarco, for joining us once again and sharing that insight with us on NewsX World. Now we move on to our next news. Russian forces have launched the year's most intense wave of missile attacks on Ukraine's two largest cities. Ukrainian officials report 4 people were killed and 6 injured in Kharkiv near the Russian border. The city's outskirts were hit, and regional governor Olesinie Ubov has confirmed the casualties. In Kyiv, the capital faced a short but intense missile attack. Witnesses reported hearing explosions, though there is no confirmed word yet on casualties or damage. Ukrainian armed forces have not released full details, and Russia has not commented. Let's listen in.
Відомо, що після опівночі російськими військовими завдано серію ударів по території області. Відомо про влучання ракет, ймовірно, на території, де ми зараз знаходимося, приватне підприємство. Також на цей час є загиблі та потерпілі особи. На цей час витягнули одного з потерпілих та надається медична допомога. Він доставляється до закладу охорони здоров'я. А також під завалом були інші люди, які евакуйовані.
Чітких взрива по терміналу було, потім чути було, що шахеди знижалися і наше ПВО його збивало десь. Один збили, ми чули, а другий десь термінал полетів. Шахеди звучать по-другому, це десь був 3-4 прильот, це точно були шахеди, а до цього це була ракета. Бо вже шахеди прилітали, не знаю. Це десь, може, півгодини виходив вокруг терміналу, шукав людей і знайшов поранених в бункері, який на 7-2 рампі знаходиться. Знайшов свого працівника, який був завалений, з розбитою головою лежав. Інший лежав під завалами, вони подавали звук. Я своєму начальнику сообщив, що вони там знаходяться. І ще один працівник сказав, що рядом з ними хтось 200 лежить. 2 поранених було. Один виглядував наполовину, під завалами лежав, я його візуально бачив, іншого просто по голосу чув.
Now for this discussion, we welcome Mr. Geren Glant. He's an ex-advisor to Defense Minister of Ukraine and geopolitical commentator, joins us live from Riga. Thank you very much, Mr. Grant, for joining us once again. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, as we see, it seems like the war front is escalating or intensifying there. Do you see that U.S. is still interested in brokering a peace between Russia and Ukraine?
It's a very good question.
Thank you.
Because Russia shows absolutely zero interest in having peace, and I don't think there is going to be any interest from Russia in the future in having peace. They intend to keep going and trying to destroy the very essence of Ukraine. On the Ukrainian side, obviously people want peace, and Zelensky is trying very hard to keep Donald Trump engaged. But Donald Trump, as you can see from all the news, Donald Trump is extremely distracted. He's distracted by Greenland, he's distracted by Epstein, and he's doing lots of other things to keep America, I'm going to say, busy from Epstein. So actually peace in Ukraine is probably one of the least important things for him at the moment, no matter what he says. So I think that we will just see what's happening now. I think we'll just see it continuing for at least another year, maybe more, in the same vein.
As you say that Russia is not stopping, and we can see that. So why is that? Is Russia trying to gain as much territory as possible before President Trump's focus is back on, like you rightfully mentioned, he's very distracted?
No, it's not about this at all.
Right.
It's not about this at all. Remember, this is an existential attack by Russia onto Ukraine to destroy Ukraine as a being and bring it back into the Russian world as part of Russia, because Putin doesn't see Ukraine as being Ukraine. He sees it as being Russia, and therefore it's his not dream is the wrong word, but it's his manner that he intends to keep going until Ukraine is subservient to Russia again, and therefore he can't, in a way, he can't stop, because he's promised this to the Russian people, and he will find it very, very difficult to get out of what he's said already by claiming peace. He doesn't want peace. He wants Ukraine, and that's why it's going to keep going. And I don't think he cares about Donald Trump, because he knows that Donald Trump, to use his words, hasn't got any cards in this case.
Right. Thank you for highlighting that. And you know, like you mentioned, that Putin is determined, and for his voters, he has promised them that Ukraine is part of Russia and Ukraine will be coming back to Russia. But I hear a lot of reports about rigged elections and no opposition figure. Also, the opposition who passed away last year. So is this really about getting votes for Russia? What is Putin's motive?
No, it's not votes. But remember, I mean, Putin has rigged the elections since he started.
Right.
So you can't actually think about votes as being something. But I mean, you know, because he sees people as slaves anyway, because he's KGB, and that's how they view everybody else. But this is, for him, this is about retaining power. Remember, he's got this caucus of people around him who, if they don't think that he's going to deliver on what he promises, they will remove him. That's what's happened in the past in Russia, and it's what will happen in the future, I guess. So he's actually got to keep going and keep delivering on his promises if he wishes to stay alive and wishes to stay there. Because the opposition, don't think the opposition is anything to do with this. They're not. The opposition are those shadowy grey people inside his group that you and I don't know about and will not know about until one of them suddenly appears as the next president. So it's a different world from anything we think of.
That's a good point. And Glenn, you know, what about Ukraine's capability? As you rightfully mentioned, that Putin is determined to continue this war as long as he can. And so how long can Ukraine counter these attacks?
Ukraine will keep going and will keep fighting until something breaks in Russia. Ukraine is very, very mentally very, very strong. And actually a lot of what Russia is doing, like trying to destroy Kiev, trying to destroy Kharkiv, is actually making, you might call it the core opposition to Russia, is actually making them stronger, not weaker. They are a determined nation, and they're a nation that wishes to stay as a nation and is going to fight to the death. Russia will have to defeat all of them individually if it wants to win. Resources are the problem for Ukraine, but it's still got resources in hand, and it's still got lots of friends and allies. So I don't think they're about to give in or collapse yet. They're going to lose more ground. I don't have any doubts about that until they actually reform the armed forces properly. But don't bet on them giving up because you'll lose your money.
Right. And you know what happens if like right now we know that the coalition of the willing is supporting Ukraine, NATO is supporting Ukraine, but in case Greenland comes to picture and in Greenland US takes military action or something, let's just say, in case. So, and then what happens? Then where do the funds go? Where will NATO, how will NATO be distracted? Do you think they will be able to manage these both?
I think that Russia taking over Greenland is still a long way away. The joint staffs in America are fighting back against Trump extremely hard, even for making plans for this. And at the moment, the European Union and NATO members are working out how they can create some sort of stronger defense in Greenland, stronger a stronger system in Greenland that actually meets what Trump is talking about, and their aim is to aim off and to not let anything get serious. But I'm sorry, but if it does get serious, then all bets on NATO surviving are off, and we're in a new and extremely dangerous world for everybody.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for highlighting that and sharing that insight, Mr. Grant. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now, moving the focus to Canada, Canada's Prime Minister Mark Carney has arrived in China, marking the first visit by a Canadian leader since 2017. The talks are being held to boost. But of course, Justin Trudeau's government previously, they had so many issues with China and Canada. Do you think that Mark Carney throwing or pushing all these issues under the rug for now for the sake of economy, is it going to benefit him? What will be the short-term and long-term effects? Glenn, are you muted here?
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you.
Unmute. In the long term, I don't think that any people outside of the USA can afford not to have China and India as a part of their trading bloc, for the simple reason that you have to trade. You can't just exist internally in a country. You make your money by buying and selling, and China, of course, is a huge market. And so he has no choice but to do this in many ways. The problem is balancing out, as you say, balancing out the human rights issues with China, balancing out the fact that China is supporting Russia. But without some sort of engagement with them, there is very little way of actually influencing China. So long term, they have no choice. Canada has no choice. Whether it will have any effect internally on elections, I doubt it, because people tend to vote mainly on how well the economy is going, and China's a long way away. But it's still a risky thing, because China is actually quite brittle in terms of economy at the moment, because they've overreached with government spending by a long way with all the infrastructure that they produced. So, the world is maybe not as simple and safe as it seems. I think this is one we have to wait and see. But Carney, I don't think he's got any choice. He has to engage with the best markets to help the country.
Yes, right. We will be eyeing that. With that, I would like to thank Mr. Glenn Grant for joining us from Riga and sharing that insight. Thank you very much. Now we move on to our tech news. NVIDIA has denied reports that it requires upfront payment for its H200 chips. A company spokesperson has clarified that NVIDIA would never require customers to pay for products they do not receive. The clarification comes after sources indicated the company had enforced stricter payment terms for Chinese customers, including full upfront payments for the H200 chip due to uncertainty over regulatory approval in China. While advance payments have been part of NVIDIA's terms for Chinese clients in the past, the new conditions for the H200 chip have raised concerns about financial risk as customers commit funds without assurance of receiving the products or the necessary regulatory clearance. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.